Hey, what's up everyone? In this video I'm going to be giving you my #1 marathon shoe of 2020. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Fordy Runs. Now this week we're talking about marathon shoes. Now if you've not seen the videos already, I would totally recommend you check out my video on the best half marathon shoe of 2020 and the best 10k shoe of 2020. The half marathon shoe was the Saucony Endorphin Speed, and just grab it. The 10k was the Meta Racer. So marathon shoes. Now marathon shoes is a bit of a funny one because I think it's hard to comment on a shoe or shoes that you haven't worn unless you've worn them over the distance. So this week is actually a video driven by you guys, because after I did the virtual London Marathon, you guys were asking me how I got on with the alphafly. So this video is about the alphafly, which is here, and how I got on over the marathon distance. So it's not really the kind of best of marathon shoes of 2020, because I think it's a bit unfair to comment on a shoe or shoes if I've not run the distance in them. I can, you know, say about the Brooks Hyperion Elite version 2 and the Fuel Cell RC and all the other shoes out there, but over the marathon distance this year I've only done one marathon, so it's unfair to comment on those shoes. If you've not seen the videos and the reviews I've done on all the sort of hyper shoes of late, I'd recommend you check them out, you know, the Adizero Pro and stuff like that. But today we're going to talk specifically about the alphafly, because you guys were asking how I got on over 26.2 miles in this shoe. So let's get stuck in. Right guys, so let's start with some of the stats and some of the features of this amazing shoe. Obviously it's got a carbon plate running through it. You can just about see that under there. So this shoe is set up with this massive slab of ZoomX foam, which is Nike's most responsive, highest energy return midsole material they do. They've combined that with two Zoom Air pods at the front. I'll show you those in a second. So that's the kind of setup. You've got the ZoomX, the pods and the carbon plate giving you maximum propulsion. You've got a super high stack height. It can go up to 45 mil depending on the size, which is 8 millimeters higher than the next percent, the previous version. You've got the Atom Knit, which is the new upper. It's a printed evolution of the Fly Knit. I'll show you that in a sec. On average, this shoe weighs about 1 ounce more than the next percent. And obviously, the price is an eye-watering, well, it's between 240, 260 pounds, depending on when you get them or where you get them from, if you can get them at all. Now, let's do the torch test on the upper to show you how breathable it is. Are you ready? Are we seeing that? Maybe it's better on that side. I don't know whether the torch test is doing very well today on these. But yeah, so obviously the upper is super breathable. I was never a huge fan of the Fly Knit material, and let me just, funny enough, I've got them down here, but my 4%, this is a lot thicker and a lot more coarse versus the Atom Knit. It's quite a good evolution, actually. I'll tell you what, while we're here, we'll do a bit of a evolution. So actually this is the wrong way around. So you've got, which you can still get the next percent, but you've got the 4% here, which was like the first sort of, I don't know, hyper shoe. Is that the right way to describe it? Let me know in the comments, by the way, if you've got any of these shoes. So this has got like the Fly Knit, really kind of thick Fly Knit upper on it. Then you went to the Vaporweave, if I remember rightly. It was called Vaporweave, which is like a more of a plastic bag material. But actually I prefer this material versus this. I've never been a big fan of the Fly Knit. And this is kind of similar to what you get on the Adizero Pro and the Adios Pro. And then, oh, by the way, check out the stack heights, what I was talking about. And then you've got the Atom Knit, which I think is a nice blend, to be honest, of the two different shoes there. I think this is a really breathable, lightweight, don't know it's there upper, which is what you want. You've got a little ring of foam in there just to give you that little bit of cushioning, and the fit is wide-ish. I have no problems with the fit. I'm UK 9.5, UK 9.5. It doesn't come up narrow whatsoever. The other striking things, obviously, like I said a second ago, the AirPods at the front with the carbon plate underneath, and you've got the big slab of ZoomX there. Also, what I found versus, and I'm going to get it again, maybe I should have kept these for display purposes, but have a look at the width. I can't see what I'm doing here, but the width, is that going to show it? Hopefully that's coming out, probably not. But the width on this is better than the other two shoes. It's definitely more of a stable platform despite the huge stack height of it. That was always a sort of downside of the Vaporfly Next Percent, was how unstable it was on that sort of soft ZoomX. This feels more stable than that, and I think a lot of that comes from the sort of hardness that you get from the AirPods at the front, because they've taken out the ZoomX here and they put these sort of firmer AirPods in it. Definitely controls the stability of the shoe over the miles. So how does it feel? And that's why you're here. So how does it feel over the 26.2 miles? Well, let's just go one step back, because actually I was meant to race the virtual London Marathon in the Saucony Endorphin Speed. Now I switched out then because we had Storm Alex here in the UK, which meant most of the UK was underwater, and I switched from a multi-terrain surface, which would have been down the towpath and that sort of stuff, a little bit of roads and that's why I was going with the Speed, mainly to a road-based marathon, which is why I went to the alphafly. My alphaflies were always my A-race shoe, even though that wasn't an A-race, because it wasn't, you know, closed roads and all that sort of stuff. And if you've not seen the video, check it out. But we had to walk up and I'll go over train stations, and we had to go through, actually wait for trains. We had to go through puddles and all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't an A race, but still I was on 99% roads, which is why I went for the alphafly versus the Speed. And you know what? It felt great. I'm going to give, I think, the first point I think is the negatives, then we'll get on to the positives. But the only really negative that I can come up with this shoe over the 26.2 miles was the lacing. And this is my own fault, I think, is that I found across the top I was too tight. Now, maybe that's because they got wet, but I just felt that I put them up too tight. And that's the only really negative that I can come up with the shoe, because the rest of it, I've got to be honest with you, it was fantastic on race day. I didn't feel unstable. I didn't feel like I was collapsing if I wanted to pick it up. So I was averaging, say, 9:05 per mile, which I know is not super fast by any means, but for me, that's, you know, what I was aiming for. And what I found was that when I was sort of easing off towards the end of the marathon, you know, it's like 22 miles and you're starting to come out of your pace, because I nailed the pace all the way through it. I was slipping out to like a 9:25 per mile. I then was able to pick it up back up to a 9:05, 9:02, whatever I needed to get the pace. And the shoe, that's where it was helping me, because I was able then to sort of get on my toes a little bit, and I was able to pick up that pace. And the shoe was helping me. I felt over the 26.2 miles, the shoe was helping me achieve the marathon distance. And that's the biggest compliment I can give the shoe, was that I just felt like when I was out there in the worst conditions possible, that the shoe was actually trying to help me cross the line. And that's why I think it's just such an awesome piece of engineering, to have something on your feet that was willing you and helping you over those 26.2 miles. Yes, it's not probably the fastest marathon shoe out there. You know, even the Vaporfly Next Percent is probably a quicker shoe. I know some of the elite runners prefer that. But over the marathon distance for me, and over the marathons that I've done in other shoes, this has been the most complete shoe that I've ran in. It just felt like it was helping me. When I was struggling, it helped me. When I was, you know, leaning back on the ZoomX, it felt comfortable. I was able to maintain a consistent pace, which I think gives a lot to the shoe as well. I sort of related this shoe to like a GT touring car, you know, before in another video. It's like a big Aston Martin GT or Ferrari GT car, you know, one of those big Grand Tours that you can just eat up miles over continents. This is what this shoe feels like. It doesn't feel like a racing car that you would do 0 to 60 in like 1 second. It just feels like something that you can take over a long distance and it will consistently keep that speed. And I think I proved that at the virtual London Marathon. Yes, it's not particularly fast, you know, in terms of some of the elites out there, but for me as an everyday runner, this shoe for me is probably been the most complete marathon shoe that I've ever ran in.